It's your boy Mad Max, and today I'll be talking about Göbekli Tëpë, which is regarded as the world's oldest temple that we know of. Göbekli Tëpë is a Neolithic archaeological site in southeastern Anatolia, Turkey. This UNESCO World Heritage Site is the earliest evidence archaeologists have in the world of permanent human settlements, and according to German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt, is the world's first temple. Dating between 11,600 and 9,000 years ago, it comes from the earliest division of the Neolithic period prior even to the use of pottery. This period of the Neolithic marked the beginnings of village life. For the longest time, archaeologists associated the appearance of Göbekli Tëpë with the Neolithic Revolution or the transition from hunting and gathering to agriculture. However, the debate over whether the adoption of farming caused people to settle down or if settling down led to farming continued. Despite being regarded as a revolution, the pace of the Neolithic was long and drawn out, and the pace differed region by region, where village life developed earlier in some places and later in others. The pre-pottery Neolithic is divided into pre-pottery Neolithic A, dated between 11,600 and 10,800 years ago, and pre-pottery Neolithic B, dated between 10,800 and 9,000 years ago. Early phases of Göbekli Tëpë occurred during pre-pottery Neolithic A, while late phases of Göbekli Tëpë occurred during pre-pottery Neolithic B. Evidence indicates that the inhabitants of Göbekli Tëpë were hunter-gatherers but had early forms of domesticated cereals in their diet and lived in villages for part of the year. Tools including grindstones and mortar and pestle were found, suggesting considerable cereal processing. Evidence also suggests large-scale hunting of gazelle occurred between midsummer and autumn. Göbekli Tëpë is in the foothills of the Taurus Mountains at the headwater of the Bekli River, a tributary to the Euphrates. The site is an artificial mound or tell situated on a flat limestone plateau. Excavations have taken place at the southern slope of the tell, but archaeological finds come from the entire plateau. Remains of many tools were found at the site. A small cave was also found with a small relief depicting a bovid. Like most pre-pottery Neolithic sites in the Urfa region of Turkey, Göbekli Tëpë was built on a high point on the edge of the mountains, overlooking the plain down below. The location also gave builders good access to limestone and flint to make tools to work the limestone. When Göbekli Tëpë was occupied, the climate in the area was warmer and wetter than it is today. The site was surrounded by an open steppe grassland with abundant cereals, herds of grazing animals including gazelle, wild sheep, and wild goat. Archaeologists disagree on whether the site had ready access to drinking water. Archaeologist Klaus Schmidt maintains that there was no access in the immediate area, but due to the wetter climate at the time and a high local water table, it may have activated springs near the site that are dormant today. Radiocarbon dating shows the earliest structures of the site were built between 11,500 and 11,000 years ago towards the end of pre-pottery Neolithic A. Göbekli Tëpë expanded in the early 9th millennium and was in use until 8000 BC, or about 10,000 years ago. Evidence suggests smaller groups lived amongst the ruins after the Neolithic structure was abandoned. Klaus Schmidt dated the site to pre-pottery Neolithic based off of the types of stone tools found at Göbekli Tëpë. The first radiocarbon dates, which were published in 1998, dated the site 500 to 1,000 years later than expected. Schmidt's team said the material was brought to the site from elsewhere when the site was being abandoned. Further findings suggest that the old wood effect, which is when a sample provides misleading or confusing results because materials of different ages are deposited in the same place, threw off the date. Ultimately, new radiocarbon dates established the site's absolute chronology falling between 11,500 to 10,000 years ago, which is the late pre-pottery Neolithic A and the pre-pottery Neolithic B. Göbekli Tëpë follows a geometric pattern which consists of an equilateral triangle that connects enclosures A, B, and D. A 2020 study suggests that the enclosures of the complex are arranged in a hierarchy with enclosure D at the top. At the western edge of the tell, a lion figure was found along with flint and limestone, suggesting this was the site of some sort of sculpture workshop. There are also 3 phallic depictions on the southern plateau, but dating is difficult because they are near quarries used during the classical times of ancient Rome and Greece. There is also a platform held by pillars corresponding to the complexes on layer 3 of the tell. On layer 3 of Göbekli Tëpë, which is the oldest stage of the site's history, there are circular compounds with T-shaped limestone pillars on the interior of the walls. 4 of these circular compounds have been unearthed, but there could be more than 16 based off of geophysical surveys. In each of the circular compounds, 2 taller pillars are at the center, and stone benches for sitting are found in each compound. Many of the pillars have reliefs depicting various animals, reptiles, insects, arachnids, and birds. Vultures are prominently depicted, like at other sites such as Jericho and Çatalhöyük. Few humanoid figures appear on the art other than what appear to be stylized humans or deities. This layer is dated to around 11,000 years ago, in pre-pottery Neolithic A. Layer 2, which is more recent, is made up of rectangular buildings. The T-shaped pillars, which is the main feature in Layer 3, are also found at this layer, suggesting this layer had the same function culturally, most likely serving as sanctuaries. This layer is dated to about 10,800 to 10,000 years ago. In 2010, a stone pillar was discovered at Göbekli Tëpë on this layer. It resembles a totem pole reminiscent of those found in North America. It has three figures, with the top one depicting a predator, most likely a bear, and below it a human-like figure. A similar pole was discovered in the nearby site called Navali Chori. Layer 1, which is at the top of the till, is the shallowest but represents the longest stretch of time. It's made up of loose sediments caused by erosion and its use for agricultural purposes after Göbekli Tëpë stopped operating as a ceremonial center. At the beginning of the 8th millennium BCE, about 10,000 years ago, Göbekli Tëpë lost its importance with the advent of agriculture and animal husbandry. Rather than simply being abandoned, Göbekli Tëpë was buried and filled with debris of mostly flint gravel, stone tools, and animal bones. The plateau Göbekli Tëpë is situated on has been shaped by erosion from quarrying both during the Neolithic and later periods. Channels on the southern part of the plateau can be interpreted as an ancient quarry, which is where the materials of Göbekli Tëpë came from. Archaeologists disagree about how much labor was used to construct the site. Schmidt maintains this was not within the capability of a few people. Citing Thor Heyerdahl's experiment with the Moai of Rapa Nui, he estimates that hundreds of people would have been involved. This interpretation supports the idea of a non-resident workforce being coerced or enticed by a small religious elite. Other interpretations suggest a small group of people using ropes and a lubricant built the site, as was the case for Stonehenge. Experiments on the site suggest that the pre-pottery Neolithic B structures currently exposed could be built by 12 to 24 people in 4 months. The stone pillars in the enclosures of Göbekli Tëpë are T-shaped, similar to other pre-pottery Neolithic sites in southeastern Anatolia. The carvings on the pillars depict animals such as serpents, foxes, boars, aurochs, gazelle, wild sheep, wild donkeys, cranes, ducks, and vultures. Most of the animals are identified as male, often depicted with an aggressive posture. Abstract figures are also depicted. Very few of them are of humans, but the pillars themselves are anthropomorphic. Small carved stones are also found at Göbekli Tëpë that depict animals and humans that are mostly male. On layer 2, a broken totem was also discovered. Klaus Schmidt viewed Göbekli Tëpë as a Stone Age mountain sanctuary. Comparative stylistic analysis indicates Göbekli Tëpë contains the oldest megaliths yet discovered. Large numbers of butchered bones are found on the site, and the seasonal presence of gazelles suggests rituals and feasts coincided with the height of gazelle season in late summer and autumn. Schmidt considered Göbekli Tëpë a potential central location for a cult of the dead. Although no tombs or graves have been discovered, Schmidt believed that graves may be discovered behind the walls of the sacred circles. Schmidt also interpreted the site with the initial stages of the Neolithic and the cultivation of grains. Sites nearby suggest this is the region where wheat was first discovered. This area also served as a refuge during the cold and dry, younger dry's climactic event with its many springs and creeks, as well as being at the upper reaches of the Tigris and Euphrates River. Schmidt also speculated that based on other shrines and settlements, that shamanism was practiced at Göbekli Tëpë. As Klaus Schmidt put it, first came the temple, then the city. Not only does Göbekli Tëpë represent the beginnings of agriculture and animal husbandry, but also a precursor to urbanization. This site is 7,500 years older than the Great Pyramids of Giza and 7,000 years older than Stonehenge. Göbekli Tëpë is massive, with only a fraction uncovered. This is only the tip of the iceberg. Who knows what else may be discovered, or what may never be discovered. As the great alternative thinker and writer Graham Hancock said, we are a species of amnesia. Think about how much we don't know, or how much we will never know. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It's your boy Mad Max, over and out.